Okay, let us now tackle the main sutram which prescribes a avyayi bhavaha compound, the long sutram 216, which reads avyayam vibhakti sameepa samriddhi virudyarthabhavatyaya samprati shabda pradurbhava paschad yathanupurvya yogapadya sadrishya Sampatti Sakalyantavachaneshu. Recall that the adhikara of avyayi bhavaha starts from 215 avyayi bhavaha and goes down to the sutram 2121. So this sutram 216 is the first sutram in the adhikara of avyayi bhavaha. The vritti of this sutram says vibhaktyarthadishu vartamanam avyayam subantena saha nityam samasyate sovyayi bhavaha, which means that a avyayam, an indeclinable, used in any one of the following meanings, invariably compounds with a term ending in a sup affix to yield a avyayi bhavaha compound. Now let us not forget the Paribhasha Sutram 211 Samarthaf Padavidhi, which says that an operation relating to terms having the designation Padam is to be understood to be conditioned on the terms being connected in sense. We know that a Samasa Vidhi is a type of Padavidhi. So we have to have samarthyam, a syntactic relation between the terms being compounded. That is why we put in the bracket here syntactically related term ending in a sup affix. Even though the vritti does not specifically say samarthena subantena, it is always understood because of the Paribhasha Sutram Samarthaf Padavidhi. Okay, now before going into the meanings, let us understand why the vritti says Nityam samasyate. Where do you get the word Nityam from? Actually, Nityam has to be inferred from the fact that the Sutram 2111 Vibhasha tells us that starting from the Sutram 2111, the compounds which are prescribed by 2112 etc. are optional, which means that Swapada Vigraha Vakyam is possible, which means that the meaning expressed by the compound may also be expressed by a sentence which uses the exact same terms as are used in the compound. That is what is called as a Swapada Vigraha Vakyam. Now the fact that Panini is starting Vibhasha from 2111 obviously means that the compounding that is prescribed by the preceding rules 216 through 2110 is not optional, because Vibhasha only starts from 2111. So this is how we infer that the compounding prescribed by this Sutram 216 as well as by 217, 8, 9 and 10 is Nityam, invariable. The compounding has to be done. So if you have a avyayam used in one of these 16 meanings, then it has to be compounded with a subantam padam to form a avyayi bhavaha compound. That avyayam cannot express any of these 16 meanings without compounding. Okay, for example, we have already briefly looked at this compound Krishnasya Samipam Upakrishnam. Now, we cannot have a vakyam like Krishnasya Upa. That is not allowed. In order to express this meaning of Samipam, Upa has to be compounded to yield a avyayi bhavaha compound. In this case, the Pradipadikam Upakrishna. There is no choice of having a vakyam like Krishnasya Upa. That is what is meant by Nityam Samasyate. We have actually touched on this topic earlier, but it's good to remind ourselves that in the case of a Nitya Samasaha, either there is no Laukika Vigraha possible at all, or if there is one, it has to be a Aswapada Laukika Vigraha, constructed using words which are not actually present in the compound. So we can say Krishnasya Samipam equals Upakrishnam. We cannot say Krishnasya Upa. Okay. Let us now continue analyzing the meaning of this sutram which says that a avyayam used in any one of the following 16 meanings invariably compounds with a syntactically related term ending in a subaffix to yield a avyayabhavaha compound. The 16 meanings are as follows. The first one is vibhaktihi, a case affix. Second is samipam, close by. Third is samriddhi, riddhehe adhikyam, meaning prosperity. Fourth is vriddhi, vigata riddhi, meaning lack of prosperity, that is adversity. Fifth meaning is arthabhavaha, absence of something. Sixth meaning is atyayaha, meaning dvamsaha, disappearance or passing away. Seventh meaning is asamprati, presently inappropriate. Eighth meaning is shabda pradurbhavaha, manifestation of a sound. The ninth meaning is paschad, meaning following. Tenth meaning is yatha. There are four meanings conveyed by yatha: yogyata, vipsa, padartha nativritti, sadrishyani, yatharthaha. The four meanings are yogyata, meaning appropriateness; vipsa, meaning repetition; padartha nativrittihi, non-transgression of something; and sadrishyam, meaning similarity. The 11th meaning is anupurvyam, in orderly succession. 12th meaning is yoga padyam, simultaneity. 13th meaning is sadrishyam, similarity or resemblance. The note here says that yatharthatve naiva siddhe punah sadrishya grahanam gunabhutepi sadrishye yatha syad Tyevam artham, which means that sadrishyam is mentioned here again, even though it is already given as one of the meanings of yatha in number 10 above, in order to allow compounding even when sadrishyam is used in a secondary, subordinate, meaning adjectival sense. All this will become clear when we take the examples. The 14th meaning is sampattihi, which is here defined as anurupaha atmabhavaha, befitting state. 15th meaning is sakalyam, meaning totality or completeness. And the last 16th meaning is antaha, meaning termination or end. Note here says that the term vachana used at the end of the compound vibhakti, samipa, etc., vachaneshu connects with each one of the prior terms vibhakti, etc. in the compound. So we have vibhakti vachane, samipa vachane, samriddhi vachane, vriddhi vachane, arthabhava vachane, and so on. Here vachana is explained as uchyate iti vachanaha, meaning vachyaha. So vibhakti vachane means vibhakti vachye, when vibhakti is to be expressed. Similarly, samipa vachane means samipa vachye, when samipam is to be expressed, and so on. Okay, let us now take the examples for each one of these 16 categories. First category is vibhaktau, which means that a avyayam used to denote a case affix invariably compounds with a syntactically related term ending in a subaffix to yield a avyayabhavaha compound. The example here is adhihari. The laukika vigraha vakyam is harau iti adhihari. Here the avyayam adhi simply denotes the seventh case affix. Saptamyarthasyayivatra dyotakodhi. So adhihari means pertaining to Lord Vishnu. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is hari ni plus adhi. Now one question comes here is that the avyayam adhi is already expressing the seventh case affix. Now how can you bring in the affix ni following hari when it is already expressed by adhi? The answer given is that, remember the Sutram 214 Sahasupa, which is a adhikaraha running down all the way down to 2222. That Sutram tells us that a Subantam Padam may only compound with another Subantam Padam. Here we have a Subantam Padam Adhi. Now that can only compound with another Subantam Padam. If we just say Hari, no compounding will be possible. Therefore, to respect reflect the adhikara of sahasupa, we have to bring in a sup affix following hari in order to proceed with the compounding. So even though the affix ni, saptami ekvachanam, is already expressed by adhi, we still bring in the affix ni following hari, because otherwise no compounding would be possible. Okay, now we have to decide which of these two terms becomes the prior member of the compound and which one becomes the latter member. We have already studied the Sutram 1-43, which says Prathama Nirdishtam Samasa Upasarjanam, meaning that a term denoted by a word ending in a nominative case in a Sutram which prescribes a compound gets the Upasarjana Sanya. In our present example, the compounding is being authorized by the Sutram 216. In that Sutram, the term avyayam is prathamantam, is in the nominative case. So therefore, the avyayam, which in this case is adhi, gets the upasarjana sanya. And then we apply 2-30 upasarjanam purvam, which also we have studied. In a compound, a term which has a designation upasarjana should be placed in the prior position. So adhi takes the prior position in the compound. So we now have adhi plus hari ni. Note here says that adhi hari ni gets the designation pratipadikam by 1-46 krit tadita samasascha. We have formed a compound, therefore adhi hari ni gets the pratipadika sanya, which allows us to apply 2-471 supo dhatu pratipadika yoho in the next step. So the antarvarti sup, which is the saptami ekvachanam affix ni, which is inside the pratipadikam, takes the look elision by 2-471. One side note here is that since adhi is a avyayam, the sup affix following adhi is already elided by 2-482 avyayad ap supaha. Because remember that the anuvritti of sup runs down from the Sutram 212 subhamantrite parangavat sware all the way down to 2-229 charte dvandvaha. So we need a subantam padam to compound with a syntactically related subantam padam. Adhi is a subantam padam. Only thing we are not showing the sup affix following that, because as we know by 2-482 avyayad ap supaha, a sup affix following a avyayam takes the look elision. If we have to be technically thorough, we should really start with hari ni plus adhi su, then apply 2-482 avyayad ap supaha to remove that su pratyaya following adhi to get hari ni plus adhi, and then perform the remaining steps. Now since 2-482 is understood, we have not shown the sup affix following the avyayam adhi. Okay, now we have the compound pratipadikam adhi hari. Before we can use this pratipadikam in the language, we have to decline it, which means that we have to add the appropriate sup affix following the compound pratipadikam. Now which sup affix would make sense here? Remember that adhi hari stands for harau. Harau is already ending in a seventh case affix. So following that, it doesn't really make sense to bring another sup affix on top of a sup affix. But we have to bring in some sup affix to create a padam. So we bring in the default outsargikaha sup, which is the prathama ekvachanam su. So we have adhihari plus su. Now as we already know, the avyabhavaha compound has the designation avyayam by the Sutram 1141 avyabhavascha, and then using 2-482 avyayad ap supaha, the affix su takes the look elision and we get the form adhihari. We could form a sentence using this compound. For example, we could say adhihari katha pravartate, a story is being told concerning Lord Vishnu. One last note here says that since the Sutram 216 avyayam vibhakti samipa ityadi vachaneshu says vibhakti, a avyayam which denotes any vibhakti would qualify for compounding. But as per the commentators, only a avyayam which denotes a karakam, and that too only the adhikaranam, may be compounded using this sutram. So even though Panini has used a general term vibhakti in the Sutram 216, we have to understand that what is meant here is the adhikarana karakam. Let us now take the next category, which is samipe, samipa vachane, samipa vachye, which means that a avyayam used in the sense of samipam invariably compounds with a syntactically related term ending in a supaffix to yield a avyayabhavaha compound. The laukika vigraha vakyam here is Krishnasya samipam equals upakrishnam, the vicinity, closeness of Lord Krishna. As already explained before, this is a nitya samasaha. So in the vigraha vakyam, we have to use some words other than those that are present in the compound. So we cannot form a vigraha vakyam like Krishnasya upa. We have to say Krishnasya samipam. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is Krishna nyas Shashti Ekavachanam plus Upa. The compounding is authorized by this Sutram 216. Please remember that whenever we construct any compound in this language, it has to be authorized by a Sutram or maybe a Vartikam in the first quarter or the second quarter of the second chapter of the Ashtadhyayi. So here 216 authorizes the compound, and then just as before, Upa gets the Upasarjana Sanya because of 1-243. Prathama Nidrishtam Samasa Upasarjanam. In the Samasa Vidhayaka Sutram 216, the term Avyayam ends in Prathama Ekavachanam. So Upa, which is the Avyayam, gets the Upasarjana Sanya, and then by 2-230, Upasarjanam Purvam, Upa becomes the prior member of the compound. So we now have Upa plus Krishna Nyas, and now the compound Upa Krishna Nyas gets the Pratipadika Sanya by 1-246 Krit Tadhita Samasascha. This in turn allows us to apply the Sutram 2471 Supo Dhatu Pratipadika Yoho. In the next step, to remove the affix Nyas which is inside the Pratipadikam. So the supaffix Nyas takes the look elision and we get the form Upa Krishna. Okay, now when we add a first case affix to the compound Pratipadikam Upa Krishna, we get Upa Krishna plus Su by 412, Swau, just some, out, etc. And now 2482 would have done the supluk. The affix Su would have taken the look elision because as we know by 1141 avyayibhavascha, the avyayibhavaha compound has the designation avyayam, and 2482 says avyayadapsupaha. But we have already studied the Sutram 2483 which says navyayibhavadatom tva panchamyaha. So instead of taking the look elision, we substitute in place of Su. And then apply Amipurvaha to get the form Upakrishnam. For example, Upakrishnam Ramyam. The vicinity, the closeness, proximity of Lord Krishna is delightful. Let us see what happens when we add the Dvitiya Ekavachanam. Same thing here. By 2483, we replace by apply Amipurvaha 61107 to get the same form Upakrishnam. For example, Gopikaha Upakrishnam Yayuhu. The gopis went to the vicinity of Lord Krishna. And now when we add the Tritiya Ekvachanam Ta, then what happens is that by 2484 we get two forms. One is when the affix Ta remains as it is, because 2484 says Tritiya Saptamyor Bahulam. So the Tritiya affix Ta either stays as it is or takes the substitution When it stays as it is, then 7112 Chanyasinyasam Inadsyaha replaces Ta by Ina. Then we apply Adgunaha 6187 to get Upakrishnena. In the case where we replace Ta by then we just apply 61107 Amipurvaha to get Upakrishnam. So the two possibilities are Upakrishnena athava Upakrishnam vina na sukham. There is no happiness without the proximity of Lord Krishna. When we add the Chaturthi Ekvachanam Nye, here is only one form. By 2483 we get the substitution, then Amipurvaha to get Upakrishnam. For example, Upakrishnam Namaha, salutations to the vicinity of Lord Krishna. When we add the Panchami Ekavachanam though, there is no look elision and there is no substitution, because 2483 says Tva Panchamyaha. Apanchamyaha. So the Panchami affix stays as it is And then we apply 7, 112, ta, nyasi, nyasam, inatsyaha, get a substitution at, and then akas savarne dirghaha to get upakrishnat. Upakrishnat parannasti is nothing superior to closeness to Lord Krishna. Now when we add this Shashti Ekavachanam Pratyaha, nyas, only one form here, bring in the substitution by 2483, then Amipurvaha to get Upakrishnam. For example, Upakrishnam Mahatmyam, the greatness of the vicinity of Lord Krishna. When we add Saptami Ekavachanam Ni, here we get two forms again by 2484, Tritiya Saptamyor Bahulam. So one possibility is that the affix Ni stays as it is, then we just remove the it letter Nyakaraha, which gets the Sanya Bala Shakvatadjite 138 and then Tasya Lopaha 139. Then apply Ad Gunaha to get Upakrishne, and optionally when we bring in the substitution, we apply Amipurvaha to get Upakrishnam. So Upakrishne Athava Upakrishnam Tishthat Arjuna. Arjuna stays in the vicinity of Lord Krishna. Let us now take the next category, which is when a avyayam is used in the sense of samriddhi, prosperity, opulence. The Laukika Vigraha Vakyam here is Madranam Samriddhi Sumadram, the prosperity of the residents of Madra territory. Madra Desha Vasinam Samriddhi. The residents of Madra territory are called Madraha. Here the avyayam Su is used to denote samriddhi. The Alaukika Vigraha Vakyam is Madra Am plus Su. The compounding is authorized by the Sutram 216 because we do have a avyayam Su which is used in the meaning of samriddhi. Operations are same as before. We assign the Upasarjana Sanya to the avyayam Su by the Sutram 1243 Prathamanidishtam Samasa Upasarjanam, because in the Samasa Vidhayaka Sutram 216 the term avyayam is prathamantam, and then by 2230 Upasarjanam Purvam Su becomes the prior member of the compound, and now the entire Samudaya Su Madra Am gets the Pratipadika Sanya by 1246 Krit Tadhita Samasascha, because we have formed a Samasaha, and this allows 2471 Supo Dhatu Pratipadika Yoho to apply in the next step. So the sup affix Am, which is inside the Pratipadikam, takes a look elision, so we get Su Madra as the compound Pratipadikam. Now we take the compound Pratipadikam Su Madra and add a sup affix to it, because we cannot use a Pratipadikam unless we add a sup affix. So let us take the situation where we add a Prathama Vibhakti Ekavachanam Su Madra plus Su by the Sutram 412, so just out, etc. We bring in the substitution by 2483 Navyayi Bhava Datom Tva Panchamyaha. Then Amipurvaha 61107 to get Sumadram. So for example, we can have a sentence like Sumadram Vartate. There is prosperity of the residents of the Madra territory. We don't have to have Prathama Ekvachanam. We can, for example, say Sumadram Pashya, where we bring in the Dvitiya Vibhakti. So the sentence means look at the prosperity of the residents of the Madra territory, and so on. The next meaning is Viridhi, which is Vigata Riddhi. So it's the opposite of Samriddhi. So it means lack of prosperity or adversity. In the example here, we use the avyayam Dur to mean Viridhi. The Laukika Vigraha Vakyam is Yavananam Viridhi Dur Yavanam, the adversity or lack of prosperity of the Greeks. Alaukika Vigraha Vakyam is Yavana Am plus Dur. Steps are the same as when we formed Sumadra. So we assign the Upasarjana Sanya to the avyayam Dur by 1243 Prathamanidishtam Samas Upasarjanam. Then Upasarjana Purvam places Dur as the prior member of the compound. Then Dur Yavana Am gets the Pratipadika Sanya by Krit Tadhita Samasascha, which allows us to apply 2471 Supo Dhatu Pratipadika Yoho to get the compound Pratipadikam Duryavana. And if we bring in the first case affix, we have Duryavana plus Su. Su gets replaced by by 2483 and then amipurvaha, we get duryavanam. So we could say duryavanam vartate, which would be appropriate to say in today's day and world. The Greeks are having financial adversity. So we can say sampratam duryavanam vartate. At the present time, there is adversity or lack of prosperity of the Greeks. The next meaning category is artha bhave, the absence of something. In example here we take the avyayam nir to represent artha bhavaha. Laukika vigrahavakyam here is makshikanam abhavaha, nirmakshikam, absence of flies. This is also used idiomatically to mean loneliness. There is absolutely nothing here. Even the flies are not here. Nirmakshikam literally means absence of flies, but it also means there is nothing around. Derivation is similar to the prior examples. Alaukika vigrahavakyam is makshika am plus nir. The compounding is authorized by the Sutram 216 because we do have a avyayam nir in the meaning of artha bhavaha. And then nir takes the prior position in the compound because it gets the upasajana sanya by 1243. Prathama nidishtam samasa upasajanam. In the samasa vidhayaka Sutram 216, the term avyayam is prathamantam. So the avyayam nir gets the upasajana sanya, and by 2230 upasajanam purvam, nir is placed as the prior member of the compound. Now nir makshika am gets the prajabadika sanya by 1246 krit tadita samasascha, because we have formed a compound, and that allows us to apply 2471 supo dhatu prajabadika yoho to remove the sup affix am which is inside the pratipadikam. So we get nirmakshika. Now what happens is that, as we already studied, the Sutram 2418 avyayi bhavascha tells us that the avyayi bhavaha compound nirmakshika has the neuter gender, and therefore we apply 1247 rasvo napumsake paratipadikasya. So the ending dirgha akaraha takes the rasvadeshaha as per alontyasya 1152. The ending letter, the ending vowel, the akaraha of nirmakshika gets shortened, so we get nirmakshika as a pratipadikam, the compound pratipadikam. Now if we add the prathama ekvachanam su to nirmakshika, bring in the am adeshaha just as before by 2483, then amipurvaha to get nirmakshikam. So we could say nirmakshikam vartate, nirmakshikam anubhuyate maya. I'm experiencing the absence of flies, which means I'm lonely. Similarly, bhikshanam abhavaha, durbhiksham, absence of alms, which means a famine, nothing to eat. So we could have a sentence like durbhikshena piditaha prajaha. The subjects, the people are oppressed by the famine. Okay, the next category is atyayaha. Atyayaha means passing away. Now, be careful, atyayaha is not the same as abhavaha. Abhavaha means the absence of something. Something was never there. While atyayaha means something was there but has now passed away. The passing away of a state is atyayaha, while abhavaha means the complete absence of something. These two are not the same. In the example here, we use the avyayam nir to mean atyayaha, passing away. Laukika vigrahavakyam is himasya-atyayaha, himasya atyayaha, nirhimam, the passing away of winter. Steps are very similar again. We construct the alaukika vigrahavakyam as hima nyas plus nir by this Sutram 216. Put nir as the prior member of the compound because it gets the upasajana sanya by 1243. Prathamanidishtam samasa upasajanam, and then 2230 upasajanam purvam. And now nir hima nyas gets the prajabadika sanya by 1246. Kritadita samasascha, we have formed a compound, so it gets the prajabadika sanya, which in turn allows us to apply 2471 supo dhatu prajabadika yoho. We remove the sup affix nyas which is inside the prajabadikam, we get nirhima. Now if we add a prathama ekavachana pratyayaha su, we have nirhima su. Bring in the am substitution by 2483 and then amipurvaha 61107 to get the form nirhimam. We could also take an example where we add a third case affix, nirhima plus ta. Now by 2484, there are two possible forms, nirhimena athava nirhimam. So we could say nirhimena athava nirhimam ananditaha janaha, which means that people are happy by the passing away of winter. The next meaning category is asamprati, which means samprati na yujyate, is not appropriate at the present time. Here we take the avyayam ati in the meaning of asamprati. Laukika vigraha vakyam is nidra samprati na yujyate ati nidram. Sleep is presently inappropriate, meaning this is not the time for sleep. Steps are similar. We form the alaukika vigraha vakyam nidra su plus ati. The compounding is authorized by the Sutram 216. Then we assign the upasajana sanya to ati by the Sutram 1-243, and then by 2-230 Upasajanam Purvam, ati becomes the prior member of the compound. Now ati nidra su gets the pradipadika sanya by 1-46, which allows us to apply 2-471 supo dhatu pradipadika yoho to remove the sup affix su, which is inside the pradipadikam. So we get ati nidra. And then 2-418 avyayabhavascha assigns the neuter gender to this avyayabhava compound, and then by 1-247 rasvo napumsake pratipadikasya along with the paribhasha sutram alontyasya, the ending long vowel akaraha of atinidra is shortened, so we get atinidra as the compound pratipadikam. Now when we bring in the prathama ekavachana pratyaha su following the compound pratipadikam atinidra, we next apply 2-483 to replace su by because atinidra ends in the short vowel a, and then amipurvaha to get atinidram. For example, uttishtha atinidram vartate, get up. This is not the time for sleep. Sampratam nidra na yujyate. Okay, the next category is shabda pradurbhave, meaning manifestation or expression or exclamation of the sound of a word. In the example here, we take the avyayam iti to mean shabda pradurbhavaha. Laukika vigraha vakyam is Hari Shabdasya Prakashaha iti Hari. So the exclamation Hari. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is Hari Nyas Shashti Ekvachanam plus iti. Now just as before, iti gets the upasajana sanya by 1-243, and by 2-230 upasajanam purvam, iti is placed as the prior member of the compound. Now iti hari nyas gets the pratipadika sanya by 1-246, which in turn allows us to apply 2-471. So for dhatu pratipadika yoho, we remove the sup affix nyas, which is inside the pratipadikam, so we get the form iti hari. Now when we bring in the affix su prathama ekavachanam, we simply apply avyayadapsupaha to remove the affix su via the look elision, because as per 1141, a avyayabhavaha compound has the avyaya sanya. So therefore 2482 avyayadapsupaha removes the affix su. So for example, we could say bhaktasya grihe iti hari vartate. There is a cry or exclamation hari in the home of the devotee. Similarly, we could use the avyayam tat in the sense of shabdasya prakashaha, shabdasya pradurbhavaha to construct the example tat panini. Here it would mean the popularity of the word panini, the publicity of the word panini. So the shabda pradurbhavaha has a couple of shades of meaning. One is simply the exclamation, other is like the publicity or popularity of a particular term or word or a sound. This is as given by the commentators. So tat panini means that the word panini is well known. It is popular. Okay. Next category of meaning is paschat, meaning following or behind or afterward. Example here, we take the avyayam anu in the sense of paschat. Laukika vigraha vakyam is padanam paschat anupadam, following or behind the steps. Alaukika vigraha vakyam is pada am plus anu. Compounding is authorized by the Sutram 216 because we do have the avyayam anu used in the sense of paschat. We place anu as the purva padam of the compound because anu gets the upasajana sanya by 1-243, and then by upasajanam purvam 2-230 anu becomes the prior member of the compound. Then we assign the pratipadika sanya to the compound anu pada am by the Sutram 1246 Kritya Samasascha, which then allows us to apply 2471 Supo Dhatu Pratipadikayoho to remove the subaffix am, which is inside the Pratipadikam. So we get the compound Pratipadikam Anupada. Now bring in the default affix su by 412, so just some out, etc. And then replace su by by 2483 and then amipurvaha 61107 to get anupadam. For example, we could say purogachatu bhavan ahamapya anupadam agata eva aham api anupadam agataha eva. So the meaning is, please go ahead, sir. Puraha is translated as ahead. I'll also follow immediately behind your footsteps. Meaning I'll be right there. I'll be right behind you. Anupadam, following your steps. Now before moving on to the next category, let us take a look at the note here. Paschat shabdasya tu nayam samasaha. Paschat itself is a avyayam. So just like we formed the avyayabhava samasaha anupadam, could we form a similar avyayabhava samasaha paschat padam using the avyayam paschat itself in the meaning of paschat? Siddhanta Kaumudi says no. Why not? Because tatah paschat sraunsyate iti bhashya prayogat. Translation is, but the term paschat itself cannot be used in the meaning of paschat to form a avyayabhava compound using the Sutram 216. Paschat shabdasya tu nayam samasaha. How do we know this? We know this from the fact that in the Mahabhashyam we find the usage tatah paschat sraunsyate. This appears in the Mahabhashyam under the Sutram 1157 Achaf Paraswin Purva Vidhau. Now if tatah paschat were to be a compound formed using the Sutram 216, paschat would be placed in the prior position in the compound. Just like in anupadam, we placed the avyayam anu in the prior position in the compound. Hence we know that tatah paschat is not a avyayabhava samasaha, because in the usage tatah paschat, paschat is not in the prior position. And since the compounding prescribed by the Sutram 216 is nityam, obligatory, it is not optional. Hence we can conclude that the term paschat itself cannot be used in the meaning of paschat to form a avyayabhava compound using the Sutram 216. The point is that since the compounding prescribed by the Sutram 216 is nityam, we cannot say that tatah paschat is a sentence, but then we may also have a optional compounding. We cannot say that because 216 prescribes a nitya samasaha. So if paschat is used in the meaning of paschat, and if compounding were allowed by 216, it would have to compound. But in this bhashya prayogaha tatah paschat, there is no compounding. Hence we can conclude that paschat shabdasya tu nayam samasaha. Okay, next category is yatha. Yatha has 4 shades of meaning. Yogyata, vipsa, padartha, nativritti, sadrishyani yatharthaha. Let's take them one by one. First one is yogyatayam. Yogyata, of course, means appropriateness, fitness. Laukika vigraha vakyam here is rupasya yogyam anurupam, meaning fit or appropriate for the form, which means in a suitable manner, suitable to the form. Laukika vigraha vakyam is rupa nyas plus anu. Compounding is authorized by the Sutram 216 because we do have the avyayam anu, which means yogyata, which is one of the meanings of yatha. Then just as before, we place anu as the prior member of the compound because anu gets the upasarjana sanya by 1 to 43 and then 2 to 30. Upasarjanam purvam places anu as the prior member of the compound, and then the samudayaha anu rupa nyas gets the designation pratipadikam by 1 to 46 kritya samasascha, which allows us to apply 2471 supo dhatu pratipadikayoho. So the subaffix nyas, which is inside the pratipadikam, takes the look elision and we get the final pratipadikam anurupa. Now we bring in the appropriate subaffix following the compound pratipadikam anurupa. Assuming that the vivaksha is prathama ekvachanam, bring in the affix su by the Sutram 412. So we have anurupa plus su. Bring in the substitution by 2483, and then 61107 amipurvaha gives the final form anurupam. For example, we could have a sentence like Murtim anurupam alankuru. Decorate the idol in a suitable manner, fitting the form. In this sentence, anurupam is used adverbially. Okay, the second meaning of yatha is vipsa, vyaptum ichha, desire to pervade. The example in vipsayam is dine dine equals pratidinam, day after day, meaning every day. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is dina nyi saptam ekvachanam plus prati. Here the avyayam prati denotes vipsa, repetition. Therefore, in the alaukika vigraha vakyam, we don't repeat the dina nyi twice because prati already denotes the repetition. So we have dina nyi plus prati. Compounding, of course, is authorized by 216 because prati is being used vipsayam, which is one of the meanings of yatha. Steps are the same again. Prati gets the upasajana sanya by 1243, prathama nidrishtam samasa upasajanam, and by 2230 upasajanam purvam. Prati becomes the prior member of the compound, and then the entire samudaya prati dina nyi gets the pratipadika sanya by 1246 krityadita samasascha, because we have formed a samasa, and finally by 2471 supo dhatu pratipadika yoho, we remove the sup affix nyi which is inside the pratipadikam to get the final pratipadikam pratidina. Following that, if you bring in the default prathama ekavachanam affix su, pratidina plus su, then just as before we get the substitution by 2483 and then amipurvaha 61107 to get the form pratidinam. For example, pratidinam bhagavad gitam patha, read the Bhagavad Gita every day. Okay, the next meaning of yatha is padartha nativrittihi, means non-transgression of something. Example here is shakti manatikramya equals yatha shakti, not transgressing one's strength or ability, which means as per one's strength or ability. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is shakti plus yatha. Then the usual steps, yatha gets the upasarjana sanya by 1243 and then 2230 upasajanam purvam puts yatha as the prior member of the compound. Then the samudaya yatha shakti gets the pratipadika sanya by 1246, and finally we apply 2471 sufo dhatu pratipadika yoho to remove the affix which is inside the pratipadikam to get the form yatha shakti. And then we bring in the default affix su following the compound pratipadikam yatha shakti. Now remember that yatha shakti has the avyaya sanya by 1141 avyaya bhavascha, so we simply apply 2482 avyadapsupaha to remove that affix su to get the final form yatha shakti. So we could have a sentence like yatha shakti yudhyasva, fight without transgressing your strength or ability, means as per your strength or ability. Okay, the last meaning of yatha is sadrishye, similarity. Example here is Harehe Sadrishyam Sahari, similarity to Lord Vishnu. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is Hari plus either ta or nyas plus saha. Compounding is authorized by the Sutram 216 because the avyayam saha is being used in the sense of sadrishyam, which is one of the meanings of yatha. Now why do we say ta or nyas? Recall the Sutram 2372 which we have studied. The Sutram says that a third case affix or a sixth case affix is used following a pratipadikam co-occurring with tulya or any one of its synonyms. So here in our current example, saha, the avyayam saha, is being used in the sense of sadrishyam. So in connection with saha, meaning sadrishyam, we may use a third case affix or a sixth case affix. That is why we have the alaukika vigraha vakyam as hari, ta or nyas plus saha. And the usual steps now. Saha gets the upasajana sanya by 1243 prathama nidrishtam samasa upasajanam, because in the samasa vidhayaka sutram avyayam is prathamantam, so therefore the avyayam saha gets the upasajana sanya. Then by 2230 upasajanam purvam becomes the prior member of the compound, and now the entire samudaya saha plus hari, ta athava nyas gets the pratipadika sanya by 1246, and finally we use 2471 to remove the sup-affix inside the pratipadikam, in this case the affix ta or nyas, to get sahahari. At this point we have to apply the Sutram 6381, which we are going to study in detail shortly. We can look at it briefly right now because we need this Sutram 6381 to replace saha by sa. Sutram says avyayi bhave cha kale sahasya sasyad avyayi bhave natu kale. In avyayi bhava compound, the avyayam saha is replaced by sa, provided the latter member of the compound does not denote a period of time. We have this avyayi bhavaha compound saha hari, and clearly hari does not denote a period of time, so saha gets replaced by sa with the Sutram 6381 avyayi bhave cha kale. And as per the Paribhasha Sutram 1155, anekalshit sarvasya, the entire term saha is replaced by sa. So we get the form sa hari. Now following this compound pratipadikam sa hari, bring in the default affix su pratama ekvachanam, and then by avyad apsupaha, the affix su takes the look elision because the compound sa hari has the avyaya sanya by 1141 avyayi bhavascha. Okay, so that completes the four meanings of yatha. The next meaning category is anupurvyam, which means order or succession. Example here is Jyeshthasyanupurvyena equals anujyeshtham. Jyeshthasyanupurvyena is the same as Jyeshthasyanukramena in order of seniority. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is Jyeshtanyas plus anu, the compounding authorized by this Sutram 216, because we do have a avyayam anu being used in the meaning of anupurvyam. The steps are similar to what we've seen before. So anu gets the upasarjana sanya by 1243 prathamanidishtam samasa upasarjanam, because the term avyayam in the samasa vidhayaka sutram 216 is prathamantam. It ends in the first case affix, and then by 2230 upasarjanam purvam, anu takes the prior place in the compound. Now anu jyeshtanyas gets the pradipadika sanya by 1246, which in turn allows us to apply 2471 supodhatu pratipadika yoho to perform the look elision on the sup affix nyas, which is inside the pratipadikam, so we get anujyeshtha as the compound pratipadikam. Now we use the Sutram 412, so just out, etc. to add the affix ta, tritiya ekavachanam, to the compound pratipadikam anujyeshtha. Now why are we adding the tritiya ekavachanam ta? Why not the default prathama ekavachanam su? The reason is that in the language this compound tends to be used to denote the instrument of the action. Hence, to comply with the usage in the language, we are adding the affix ta, tritiya ekavachanam. Tritiya is used here in the sense of karane, to denote the instrument of the action. So now we have anujyeshtha ta. Now as per 24824, tritiya saptamyor bahulam, we have two possibilities here. Either ta remains as it is, or it takes the substitution. In the case where we bring in the substitution, we apply amipurvaha to get anujyeshtham. In the other case, when ta remains as it is, we use 7112 ta nyasing nyasam inatsyaha to get the ina adeshaha in place of ta, and then adgunaha to get anujyeshthena. Example here is anujyeshtham pravishantu bhavantaha. We could also say anujyeshthena pravishantu bhavantaha. Jyeshthasya anukramena, in order of seniority. So you sirs enter in order of seniority. One small note I'd like to add here is that all the books that I looked at, all the references which I have, don't give the form anujyeshthena. They only give the form anujyeshtham. But we know as per 2484, the form anujyeshthena should also be possible. That's why I've given both the forms here, even though all the commentators which I've looked at only give the form anujyeshtham. Okay, the next category of meaning is yoga padye, which means simultaneity, occurring at the same time. The example here is Chakrenaika Kale. Chakrena Eka Kale. Chakram, simultaneously with the wheel. Okay, the alaukika vigraha vakyam is Chakra Ta plus Saha. Here the third case affix ta is used with chakra as per the Sutram 2319 we have studied. 2319 says that a third case affix is used following a pratipadikam co-occurring with saha or a synonym of saha, provided the pratipadikam does not denote the primary agent. Now one side note here is that when we derived the compound sahari, at that time also we had saha in the alaukika vigraha vakyam. Why did we use ta only optionally? We said we use ta or nyas as per 2372. The reason is that the saha which is used in 2319 is denoting the sense of sahityam, togetherness, while the saha which is used to derive sahari is denoting sadrishyam. Therefore, there it is appropriate to apply 2372. While here we should use 2319 because here we are talking about yoga padyam, simultaneity, together. Okay, remaining steps are very similar. Saha gets the upasarjana sanya by 1-2-43. Prathama nirdishtam samasa upasarjanam, because in the samasa vidhayaka sutram 216 avyayam is prathamantam. So therefore the avyayam saha which is used here gets the upasarjana sanya. Then by 2-2-30 upasarjanam purvam, saha becomes the prior member of the compound, and now saha chakra ta gets the sanya pratipadikam by 1-2-46 kritta dita samasascha, because we have formed a compound. And then we use 2-4-71 supo dhatu pratipadikayoho to perform the look elision of the sup affix ta which is inside the pratipadikam. And finally we replace saha by sa by the Sutram 6381 which we already looked at and which we'll be studying in detail shortly. 6381 says that in a avyayi bhavaha compound, the avyayam saha is replaced by sa, provided the latter member of the compound does not denote a period of time. Here we do have a avyayi bhavaha compound, and clearly chakra does not denote a period of time, so saha gets replaced by sa as per 6381. And as per the Paribhasha Sutram 1-155, Anekalshit Sarvasya, the entire term saha is replaced by sa. And now we bring in the default Prathama Ekavachanam affix su, following the compound pratipadikam sa chakra. Su gets replaced by as per 2483. Navyayi bhava datom tva panchamyaha. And then amipurvaha to get sa chakram. For example, we can have a sentence like sa chakram shankhan dehi, meaning shankhan chakrenaika kale dharaya. Hold the conch simultaneously with the wheel. Okay, the next meaning category is sadrishye. Laukika vigraha is sakhya sadrishaha, sasakhi, similar to his friend. The alaukika vigraha is sakhi ta or nyas plus saha, compounding authorized by the Sutram 216 because we do have the avyayam saha used in the meaning of sadrishye. And here we are using the third case affix ta or the sixth case affix nyas following sakhi as per the Sutram 2372. Tulyarthai ratulopamabhyam tritiyanyatarasyam, which means that a third case affix or a sixth case affix is used following a pratipadikam co-occurring with tulya or any of its synonyms, but not tula or upama. Right now we have the avyayam saha used in the sense of sadrishyam. Hence the connecting word sakhi takes either the third case affix or the sixth case affix. Steps as usual. Saha gets the upasarjana sanya by 1-43. Prathama nidishtam samasa upasarjanam, and then by 2-30 upasarjanam purvam it becomes the prior member of the compound. Now saha, sakhi, ta, athava, nyas gets the pratipadika sanya by 1-46 kritta dita samasascha, because we have formed a samasaha, and that allows us to apply 2-4-71 supodhatu pratipadikayoho in the next step to remove the affix ta or nyas. So we get the form saha sakhi. And as we have seen before, we apply the Sutram 6381 avyayi bhave chakale to replace saha by sa. And as per the Paribhasha Sutram 1.155, Anekalshit Sarvasya, the entire term saha is replaced by sa. So we get the form sasakhi. And when you bring in the default affix su following the compound pradikam sasakhi, we use 2482 then to perform the look elision of the affix su. 2482 says avyayadap supaha, and remember that a avyayabhavaha samasaha has the sanya avyayam by 1141 avyayabhavascha. That is what allows us to apply 2482. So we get the final form sasakhi. Question comes now: yatharthatve naiva siddhe punah sadrishya grahanam gunabhutepi sadrishye yatha syadityevam artham. Recall that sadrishyam was one of the four meanings given to yatha. So now, why does Panini repeat sadrishyam here again? That is what this note asks. Yatharthatve naiva siddhe. Since sadrishyam is one of the meanings of yatha, the current example could have been given there itself. Why bring it up here again? The answer is punah sadrishya grahanam gunabhutepi sadrishye yatha syat, which means that sadrishyam is repeated here in order to allow compounding even when sadrishyam is a secondary or subordinate adjectival meaning. For example, samandiram idam graham. This house is like a temple. Mandirena sadrisham idam graham. In this sentence, the house is primary, while similarity to the temple is secondary. It only qualifies the house. This is what is meant by gunabhutam sadrishyam. On the other hand, when we studied the example sahari, when we were looking at the meanings of yatha, at that time, similarity to Lord Vishnu, that similarity is a primary meaning there. Sahari talks about the similarity itself and not similarity as a quality of something else which is primary. So if Panini were not to repeat sadrishyam, we could not construct an example like samandiram idam graham, because here sadrishyam is subordinate in meaning. Okay, the next meaning category is sampattau. Laukika vigraha here is kshatranam sampattihi, meaning kshatriyanam yogyam kshatratvam equals sa kshatram, meaning the kshatriya character which is befitting kshatriyas. Kshatra and kshatriya are similar in meaning. So kshatriyanam yogyam kshatratvam means kshatriyaness, kshatriya character which is appropriate for the kshatriyas. The alaukika vigraha vakyam is kshatra am plus saha. Steps as usual. We assign the upasajana sanya to saha by 1 to 43. Prathama nidishtam samasa upasajanam. Then by 2 to 30 upasajanam purvam. Saha becomes the prior member of the compound. Now saha Kshatra am gets the Pratipadika Sanya by 1 to 46 Krit Tadita Samasascha, and that in turn allows us to apply 2471 Supo Dhatu Pratipadika Yoho to perform the look elision of the sup affix am which is inside the Pratipadikam. So we get Saha Kshatra, and finally we apply 6381 as we have done before to replace Saha by Sa. And as per the Paribhasha Sutram 1.155, Anekalshit Sarvasya, the entire term saha is replaced by sa to get the form sa Kshatra. Now when you bring in the default affix su pratama ekavachanam following the compound pradipadikam sa Kshatra, we replace su by using the Sutram 2483, and finally Amipurvaha gives us sa Kshatram. Now recall that we have seen in the same Sutram 216 the meaning of Samriddhi. Now these two, Samriddhi and Sampatti, are normally synonymous in meaning, but not in this Sutram. The note here says that Riddheradhikyam Samriddhi. So Samriddhi is prosperity. But Anurupaha, Yogyaha, Atmabhavaha, meaning Atmanaha equals Samasyamanot Padasya bhavaha sampattihi iti bhedaha. So sampattihi as used in this sutram stands for character or behavior, bhavaha, which is befitting oneself. Yogya atmabhavaha. Here atmanaha stands for samasyamanottara padasya. So it is a character that is befitting oneself. Oneself meaning whoever is denoted by the latter member of the compound. In this case, Kshatra. So it's a character befitting the Kshatriyas. For example, Sakshatram Ikshvakunam. Descendants of Ikshvaku have a Kshatriya character which is befitting Kshatriyas, appropriate for the Kshatriyas. Okay, the next meaning category is Sakalye. Sakalyam means totality, completeness. The Laukika Vigraha Vakyam in the example here is Trinamapya Parityajya Satranam Atti Sakalyene Ityartha Natvatra Trinabhakshane Tatparyam. Means someone eats everything down to a blade of grass. Trinam api aparityajya. It means that someone eats everything. It doesn't mean that someone literally eats a blade of grass. It implies that someone who would not even give up a blade of grass, how would he give up any kind of food? So it means someone eats all the food. That's what it means. Sarvam bhojyam atti ityarthaha. Okay, the Alaukika Vigraha Vakyam is Trina ta plus saha, which literally means along with the blade of grass, which means not even giving up a blade of grass, which implies totality, completely. So here saha is by implication used in the sense of completely, and hence we can use the Sutram 216 to form the compound. And now as per 2319 Sahayukte Pradhane, we use the third case affix ta following Trina. Steps are very similar to what we had before, so we use 1 to 43. Prathama nidishtam samasa upasajanam to assign the upasajana sanya to the avyayam saha, and then by 2 to 30 upasajanam purvam saha becomes the prior member of the compound. Now saha trina ta gets the designation pradipadikam by 1 to 46 kritadita samasascha. And then we apply 2 471 supo dhatu pradipadikayoho to perform the look elision of the affix ta, the supaffix ta, which is inside the pradipadikam. Finally we replace saha by sa using 6381 avyebhave chakale. And as per the Paribhasha Sutram 1.155, Anekalshit Sarvasya, the entire term Saha is replaced by Sa. And now following the compound Pradipadikam Sa Trina, bring in the default Prathama Ekvachanam affix Su by 412, replace Su by using 2483, and then Amipurvaha gives the form Satrinam. Okay, the final meaning here is Ante. A nice little touch by Panini here to put Anta as a last meaning. Anta, of course, means last or end, and it also happens to be the last of the 16 meanings in this sutra. Okay, the example here is Agni Grantha Paryantam Adhite. Sagni Adhite. Someone studies up to the end of the text concerning fire. Here Agni stands for Agni Grantha, not literally fire, but the text about fire, meaning the text which describes the fire ritual. And here Agni Grantha Paryantam qualifies Grantham. So someone studies a text ending with the text concerning fire. What it means is that a particular section or a portion of text is taken up for study, and the ending part of the text taken up for study is the text concerning fire. Before going on, let us point out one thing, that Ante is different from Sakalye. When we say Sagni Adhite, it doesn't mean that one studies completely. Doesn't mean the study is absolutely complete. All it means is that that portion which has been currently taken up for study ends in the text concerning fire, and the student reads up to that Agni Grantha. It doesn't mean that his study is completely finished. It just means that he has studied up to the text concerning fire, which is the portion currently taken up for study. Okay, the Alaukika Vigraha Vakyam is Agni Ta plus Saha. Here Saha stands for Antatvam as well as Sahityam. The fact that it stands for Antatvam allows us to compound it using the Sutram 216, and the fact that it stands for Sahityam together with, along with, allows us to use 2319 Sahayukte Pradhane to bring in the third case affix sta following Agni. Steps are very similar to what we had before. So we assign the upasajana sanya to the avyayam saha using 1 to 43. Prathama nidishtam samas upasajanam, and then by 2 to 30 upasajanam purvam saha becomes the prior member of the compound. Now saha Agni ta gets the Prajpadika Sanya by 1 to 46 Kruttadita Samasascha. And then we use 2471 Supo Dhatu Prajpadikayoho to perform the look elision of the affix sta, the supaffix sta, which is inside the compound. Then we replace saha by sa using the sutram 638v1 like we did before. Avibhave chakale. And as per the Paribhasha Sutram 1.155, Anekalshit Sarvasya, the entire term Saha is replaced by Sa. And finally, Akasame Dirghaha gives us Sagni as the compound Pratipadikam. Now here, Sagni stands for Agni Grantha Paryantam, which as you mentioned is qualifying Grantham. So it is the object of the study. So it is the karma. Therefore bring in the affix the Dvitiya Ekvachanam by 412. Then we apply 2482 Avyadap Supaha to perform the look elision of the affix because remember, as per 1141, Avyabhavascha, the Avyabhavaha compound has the Avyaya Sanya. That allows us to apply 2482. So we get the final form Sagni. Similarly, Sabhashyam Adhite. Someone studies a portion ending with the Bhashyam. Now before closing the discussion on this long sutram, let us take a look at this important note here. Actually, it's a very important note. It says that as per some grammarians, particularly Nagesha, the following holds true. Etat sutro pattanam avyayana navyayi bhavaha. Etas sutro pattanam avyayanam na avyayi bhavaha. Meaning that the avyayani that are specifically mentioned in this sutram cannot be used in their own meaning to form a avyayi bhavaha compound using this sutram 216. Hence, the avyayam paschat itself cannot be compounded in the meaning of paschat. Similarly, the avyayam yugapat cannot itself be compounded in the meaning of yoga padyam. Yoga padyam is a tadhitaha formed from the avyayam yugapat. So yugapat also cannot be used to form a vibhavaha compound using this sutram. And actually even the avyayam yatha should not be used in the meaning of yatha to form a vibhavaha compound using this sutram. Then what about the example which you derived yatha shakti? According to Nageshaha, the next sutram 217 yatha sadrishye should be used to compound the avyayam yatha itself in the meaning of yatha. You may recall that when we studied the meaning paschat, we noted that paschat shabdasya tu nayam samasaha, which means that paschat itself cannot be used in the meaning of paschat to form a avyabhavaha compound using the sutram 216. And at that time we quoted from the Mahabharshyam to support that conclusion. What we are looking at now is Nagesha's view, which is that not just paschat, but any avyayam which is specifically mentioned in the Sutram 216 cannot be used in its own meaning to form a vibhavaha compound using the Sutram 216. Nagesha has given some very good reasons to support his point of view. If you'd like to get some more details, you may want to read the Shabdendu Shekharaha, which is a commentary on the Siddhanta Kaumudi by Nagesha Bhattaha. There he has given some very strong arguments to support the statement Etas sutro pattanam avyayana navyayi bhavaha. So please keep that in mind. Even though the Siddhanta Kaumudi does not discuss this issue, we have to give it due consideration.